All right, today we're going to be going over long division of polynomials. Before we do that, I'm going to review long division from how you guys used to do it in elementary school. So here we go. First example I'm going to go over, I'm just going to do 102 divided by 4. Okay? First thing you want to do is take the divisor out and put it in front of a bracket. So we have the 4 right here, put it in front of a bracket, and then you put the dividend inside the bracket like so. Now some people get confused on this because it's kind of backwards. You do 102 divided by 4, and then when you look at this, it's like 102 divided by 4. And they're like, oh, I hate that. Well, that's just the way they do it. And it also makes your life easier. So that's the way we're going to do it. Okay? So you take this 4 and you look at this first number, 1. Always start with the leading term. And if you look at it, 4 cannot go into 1 evenly, so we're going to skip that 1 and go to the 0. So now we're going to be looking at this 10 right here. The 1 and the 0 make the 10. How many times can 4 go into 10 evenly? Hopefully you know that it's 2. Because 4 times 2 is 8. So what do you do with that? 8. So 4 times 2, you put it down here, and then you have to subtract it off. Okay? So you have 10 minus 8, which is 2. And then you look at that number. Okay, can 4 go into 2 evenly? Hopefully you see that it can't. So what you could do is you could drop down this 2 right here to make it 22. How many times can 4 go into 22? Hopefully you know it's 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. So 5 times 4 is 20. We're going to put a 20 in here, subtract that off, and then you end up with 2. Okay? The only issue is now we don't have any numbers to drop down. So how can 4 go into 2 evenly? It doesn't. So what we're going to have to do is that's going to be our remainder. It's 2 out of the 4 that we have left over. So 2 out of 4, 2 over 4 is 1/2. 2 over 4, hopefully you know it simplifies to 1/2. So I'm just going to put a 1/2 in here, and that's our answer. Now, this half might be a little tricky, but if you think about it, what's 1/2 times 4? 2. So if you did 1/2 times 4, you would get a 2 here. The 2 cancels off, and then you end up with nothing at the end. So it does make sense to put a half there. So hopefully that kind of helps why you have to do the remainder 2 over 4 to get the 1/2. If not, let me know. Okay? So we're going to kind of use this to answer, to figure out the long division of polynomials. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that the polynomial is in ascending order based on the power. So we have x squared, so 2, and then we have 3x, and then it's to the 1 power, so 2, 1, and then it's 5, and there's nothing there, so it's like x to the 0 power, because x to the 0 is 1. So 5 times x to the 0, so it's 0, so the power is 2, 1, 0. Okay? Always make sure it's ascending order. It makes your life easier. Okay, same thing here, x to the 1 power plus 1 times x to the 0 power, so it's already in order, but sometimes I'm going to try to trick you and not put it in ascending order. You're going to have to do that yourself. Okay? First thing we want to do is the same thing we did over here. Make sure you put it, write it down with the bracket. So we did the 102 divided by 4. We're going to do the x squared plus 3x plus 5 divided by the x plus 1. So x plus 1, bracket, put the dividend in here, plus 3x plus 5. Okay? Now we're always going to be focusing on the leading term for both the dividend and the divisor. So here the leading term is x. Here the first term that we're going to put, the leading term right here, is x squared. So just think, how many times can x go into x squared? It's not 2. Everyone always thinks it's 2. But x can go into x squared x times, because x times x is x squared. So what I'm going to do here is put an x. Boom. Okay? Now, just like we did before, you're going to take this number times this, and then subtract it off down here. So x times x plus 1, distribute that out, is x squared, because x times x squared, plus x times 1. X times 1 is x. Now what I like to do, because it makes my life a whole lot easier, is put this in parentheses. Okay, because then we're going to subtract it off. It'll just be easier to make sure the math is right if you always use parentheses. It's a great habit to get into. Okay, so we wanted to get rid of that leading term, that x squared. Well, x squared minus x squared, 0. It's gone. Okay, no more x squared. Now we have this 3x minus x. 3x minus x, hopefully you know it's 2x, like so. So I'm going to put the 2x down here. Okay, now just because I like to keep everything in line, I'm going to drop down this plus 5 as well. So now it's 2x plus 5. I don't have to look back up here anymore. Any of the numbers, all the updated numbers are down here. So I'm just going to kind of drop down that 5, similar to what we did over there with the 2. Okay? Now remember, we're just looking at the leading term. So how many times can x go into 2x? Hopefully you know it's 2. So I'm going to add a 2. Make sure you add a 2 in here. Okay? Because if you just put a 2 in here, it's going to look like it's x times 2. It's not x times 2. It's x plus 2. So I put a little plus in there. 2 times x plus 1, remember distribute, is going to be 2x, because 2 times x, plus 2 times 1 is 2. Make sure you put those parentheses in there. You'll never get the math wrong. Subtract that off. 2x minus 2x is 0, so the 2x's are gone. That's what we wanted. Then we have the 5 minus 2. Hopefully you know 5 minus 2 is 3. So that's going to be our remainder. Remember, the remainder is how much we have divided by the whole of the x plus 1. So if you want, you can write it as 3 over x plus 1, just like we did before with the 2 over 4 to get the 1/2. So we're going to do plus 3 over x plus 1. Okay? Now we're going to check this by doing 3 over x plus 1 times x plus 1. Now, you're going to have to do the math yourself, because I'm not going to do it, but it's 3 over x plus 1 times x plus 1. Hopefully you see that that's just 3. So this times this is just going to be 3. If you don't believe me, do it yourself. Subtract that off. 3 minus 3 is 0. We know that that's the answer. It's also important to check your work. I'm not going to be doing that on this, though, but if you wanted to, you can work backwards. Take this answer you got right here and multiply it by x plus 1. You should get x squared plus 3x plus 5. If not, you might want to do the problem over again or try to figure out what you might have done wrong. Okay, so here's our answer for this problem, and that's long division of polynomials. Let me know if you have any questions or you need any other help.